Hello, I'm Mad Uncle Morgan, and today we're talking about the only code of conduct you need to know. The other day, a famous in their own mind magician posted on the internet, "Were magic neither black nor white, there were no karma, no law of three, what would remain to guide our magic and light our way? The magician code, chivalry." Oh dear. First off, this is a bad poem. I say that as an English major. Second off, chivalry has nothing to do with magicians. Okay? There are cultists out there who fancy themselves warriors. And for some reason they have not joined the Society of Creative Anachronism, where you can get to beat up on people with foam swords. And chivalry, there's kind of a misconception about today. And I've encountered this both in lit class and history classes, and religious study class. Chivalry is actually a control mechanism. Knights were bloodthirsty, violent people. And there were several attempts to try to control their violence. Chivalry was one of them. The other was the Crusades. The Crusades basically was taking violent knights and instead of having them wreak havoc on Europe, send them to the Middle East and beat up on people of another religion. There was also one crusade against heretics in Europe. So this is not exactly something that magicians and witches would have embraced. Witches and magicians would have been part of the resistance against this idea, okay? And chivalry, while it does contain clauses about being nice to women and treating everybody with respect and being generous and protecting the weak, in reality, chivalry only counted among nobles. Knight to knight, okay? The historical record shows that these so-called chivalrous knights basically still beat up on the poor people, still beat up on the commoners, still beat up on the farmers, did whatever they wanted to do. Basically, rape, pillage, and burn. But it was a nice attempt. Chivalry has four general parts to it. Hang on, I'm trying to locate my spot. I thought I bookmarked this. Oh, there it is. Okay, so it has four parts. Generosity, courtesy, prowess, loyalty. Generosity, and please note that chivalry is actually etiquette for dealing with other knights and other nobles, okay? All these rules go out the window when a knight is dealing with his social lessers, okay? If you're a farmer or a poor person, these rules are out the window. I'll be honest with you, my best example of how this would have worked is there's a Robin Hood movie where the sheriff, who I think was played by Alan Rickman, basically decides that he's going to try to rape the female love interest of Robin Hood. And I think this was the Kevin Costner movie. Not that I'm recommending the movie, because the only scenes that are actually worthwhile watching are the Alan Rickman scenes. Yeah, the sheriff is evil, and the sheriff would have been somebody, would have been the character most likely to have been under the law of chivalry in the first place. Generosity. For a poor person, please note that they sometimes suffered crippling taxes. Therefore, generosity does not apply to the poor. Courtesy, same thing. The very fact that it has a power statement in the system, you know, where it's your battle skill that, you know, helps determine your rank. Well, no, commoners don't have this, therefore they don't deserve respect. And loyalty, basically loyalty is basically that you remain true to your betters in society, that you remain loyal to your king. Now, one of the problems with this being slipped into occultism is the fact that, just like it was a control mechanism for knights, when it slipped into a magical organization or esoteric system, it's serving the same purpose. Now, around the 1850s, 1900s, when it was in Freemasonry, the idea, the chivalry, that wasn't so bad because they were social orders and they were more democratic. You don't watch this because I can talk. And in the Freemasonry, Knights Templar, you know, that's, you know, it's okay. Of course, that's part of the problem is there's this myth about the Knights Templar that they found a powerful magical item, and that's the reason they got destroyed by the French king. No, Knights Templar did not get destroyed because they were magicians. They got destroyed because they had money, and the French king wanted the money. He also owed them some major debts. They gave him lots and lots of loans, and he decided he would rather not pay. It would be like if, you know, the college students of America banded together and somehow destroyed the Sally Mae. No, it's not Sally Mae, is it? I know I owe loans to Nelnet. Anyway, we somehow managed to destroy the student loan debts, okay, by, you know, basically burning the officials of the student loan system. Won't actually work. I am not advocating violence. I don't know how you're going to pay your student loans. Hell, I don't know how I'm going to pay mine. But it's wrong to burn student loan officials. Especially the ones you talk to on the phone. Don't burn those at the help desk. They've been helpful to me. And they're slobs like the rest of us, just working a bad job. Anyway, but when this code of chivalry is actually put in play, you end up with bad things happening. Because it's only one small step away from going, oh, we're occult knights, to being, and there's an enemy to fight, and you're following the orders of a leader because you're in this war. Now, the following is from a document from 1997. And I read it as a control statement. And I've heard enough rumors about the order that this comes out of to know that it was being used as a control statement. One thing I would point out that doesn't actually name an official enemy. And this ends up being part of the control thing because the enemy over time changes. And while they're never told to directly attack these people, it's strongly suggested that they do attack these people. But it was perfectly okay because they're the enemy. And see, that's the problem with the Code of Chivalry, is that if somebody is declared an enemy, Code of Chivalry says you are loyal to your leader and you attack that enemy. When this whole thing came out, one of the things that were said by somebody else was, wow, given this person's history, I can't believe that they actually believe that they're operating by this code. Of course, when you look at the code and go, but it only applies to your own class. This person has said that nobody else in the occult world, outside of those who belong to his order and the affiliated orders, actually belong. Therefore, everybody else is the enemy automatically. Therefore, yes, they can do this and still be loyal to this code. And it's really, it's a control mechanism, okay? And here's how it was described in a 1997 document by a different group. We are now met with a terrible enemy. A large organization spanning governments, fraternities, financial institutions. Players and dabblers are being used by these professionals. Their name is not important, but for the purpose of this paper, we shall simply refer to them as sharks. While in the past their work has always been subtle, and our order appeared as a minimum threat to their goals, as of late they have came out of the shadows to, at times, openly threaten the lives and livelihoods of our members. We have no way of telling what other servants of light they have threatened, enchanted, killed, or beaten down, or worse yet, provided with such human success and finances and earthly power as to render these servants nil and void. They are the masters of working with the current and capitalizing on the resistance that each of us face, working hand in hand with negative thought, sending spirits who capitalize in the self-doubt we all have from time to time. There are pockets of resistance in the world, but as the providence for group self-sufficiency is destroyed in various parts of the world, and social dependence is a requirement for survival, many of the once strong fortresses of light are beginning to show signs of degradation and battle fatigue. Even more threatening is that the number of people called to the spiritual vocation and dedication to Christ's work are sinking to a low and dangerous ebb. We are given the illusion of hope with the New Age movement and the liberation movement through psychological therapies and treatment. Yet without Christ, the true understanding of self-sacrifice, these modern-day salesmen of psychobabble, okay? Remedies leave their followers empty and waiting for true spiritual meat. That true spiritual meat, my brothers and sisters, is found hidden in the words, Yahasu Maha. Anyway, Jesus is everything. And basically, so as a lit student, I note certain things about this statement. One, you have an enemy. You must stand unified with your leader against this enemy. Okay, control. The enemy is nameless. So it could be anybody they want to attack this week. Could be the GMOs. It could be contrails. It can be the bankers. It can be the police. And the third thing is that our order is a threat to them. Okay? Yes, we are warriors. We're going into battle against the evils of society. Oh, okay. We have no way of telling what other servants of life they have threatened, enchanted, killed, or beaten down, or worse yet, provided with such human success and finances and earthly power to render these servants null and void. Okay, so we don't know who else they've destroyed. Oh, they use magic. They can kill these people, beat them down, or, ultimate insult, make them successful. Therefore, anybody you see successful can be declared an enemy and servant of this darkness because they're successful. Oh dear. But yeah, and of course, my biggest problem with this stuff was they would allow pagans into this order, but when it came time for inner order, these pagans would have to basically convert to Christianity because the order's doing Christ's work. There's no actual paganism there. Now, I'm not sure if this rule still sticks in that order. I know that that particular order split in two, but it would worry me if this rule was still there. So, what type of code of conduct? No, assuming that karma doesn't exist, assuming that the threefold law doesn't exist, what code should be used? Especially if, like in my case, I have a problem with the code of chivalry in the first place. Because, I've read too much medieval literature. I've read too much history from that time period. No, the code of chivalry sure wasn't in play in the Crusades, okay? An entire village was killed. People shoved in a church, and a church burned down. And by the way, the Crusaders actually attacked Christians too. So, what is the code of conduct you should use? And for me, it boils down to the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Yes, I realize it's a little Christian. But I've also heard it said that all religious moral codes and all codes of conduct basically boil down to commentaries on do what thy to others what you would like them to treat you, how you would like them to treat you. all these codes are actually commentaries on the Golden Rule. So you don't need this elaborate code, okay? If you have empathy and you're a good person, you don't actually need these codes. The very fact these codes actually exist kind of prove that the Esoteric Orders do not actually develop empathy in people. But you have to ask, what do the esoteric groups actually teach if they're not actually teaching spiritual development, if they're not actually teaching empathy? What is it really about? And why do we need to put in these elaborate codes if these systems are supposedly creating spiritually advanced people? Yes. Yeah, go forth and do unto others. Treat them how you want to be treated. Be a nice human being. You don't need all these codes. Unless it's window dressing and fantasy role-playing and, ways to control your membership so you can pretty much do whatever you want to do and label it as, I had to do it because we're in a fight against the darkness. Yoo-ha! I'm Mad Uncle Morgan. Have a good evening.